Oh, hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey today. Woo, we got ourselves a round table for you today. We have two incredible outliers that are bringing their experience to the table and are here to challenge our thinking as well as their own throughout it. So I'm excited to have Bill Stainton and Robin Ferguson with us today. Thank you both for making time for today.
You.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to give Outliers a chance to get to know you. So, Bill, we'll start with you. Do you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. I'm Bill Stainton. My background is that for 15 years I was a TV producer. Actually, I was a TV producer for 20 some years, but for 15 of those years, I produced what ended up being the longest running, highest rated, and most award winning regional comedy TV show in the United States. So that's my background. What I'm doing now is as a keynote speaker, a consultant, a strategist, I help leaders and their teams develop their own sense of innovation, creativity, how to think differently about things. That's kind of my passion, and my mission is to let people know that everybody's an innovator. It's not just for the others. It's we're all, we've all got it.
Ooh, Bill, we're going to play. Congratulations on what you've created, and I think you're also speaking to something that's really great, which is like, okay, having had all the success you already had, how do you continue to innovate on top of that? How do you continue to move that forward and play that out in the world? Like, I will also say one last thing here, which is that every time I have these conversations, I look for what this podcast could be. So please, let's innovate here. Hopefully, this is a conversation unlike any other one that we've had before. You good with that?
Cool, yeah.
All right, let's play with that.
Yeah.
Robin, how about you? Do you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Yeah, we're gonna have fun.
Hmm.
Um, I'm Robin Ferguson, and I am a transformational leadership executive and life coach. I've kind of had a winding road in my career, as well as it sounds Bill has. Started out as a nurse, spent some years as a minister of a couple churches, and then went into consulting. I've been a coach for about 15 years now. And I think what ties it all together for me is this compelling mission to empower and uplift others, and really an unwavering belief in people's potential. Whether that be through coaching, speaking, writing, that's the mission that compels me is just, when I wake up every day, how can I be in service to others? How can I lift up those around me or those I'm working with, the leaders of organizations in every interaction. So that's the game I'm playing.
We're gonna have some fun here today. Like,
Yeah.
I get. I'm gonna start off here, Bill. You brought in innovation. I feel it'll be really fun to presence that quickly and not even quickly to present that in our conversation because I get excited for where the conversation might go once it has entered the room. So like, let's play with this. Like, there's a part of me that is let's do two things. Firstly, let's have a shared understanding of what innovation means. So, Bill, why don't you, for this part of the conversation, why don't you define for us like what innovation means to you, so we might be able to play around with it in the combo.
Yeah, my kind of thumbnail definition of innovation is turning creativity into money. Now,
Mm.
here's what I mean by that, though, because a lot of people think that innovation and creativity are the same thing. They're not. They're closely related, but creativity is the coming up with the ideas. Innovation is taking those ideas and turning them into something of value. I say money just because it's a great little bumper sticker, turning creativity into money. But money could be efficiency, it could be time savings, it could be better relationships, it could be, I mean, it's anything of value. So creativity is just coming up with ideas. Well, that's easy to do, and I can show. I work with leaders and teams all the time, showing them how to come up with lots of ideas. But then, how do you pick the one or the ones that can really make a difference, move that needle forward, whether it's in business, in your professional life, in your personal life, whatever, and then bring it out into the world. Because an idea that you keep to yourself is worthless, but an idea that you bring into the world is priceless. So that's my definition of innovation, creating something of value that moves things forward.
All right, I'm glad. I'm very glad that I asked that question because I had a very different definition in there. I've
Oh, what's
forgotten it.
yours?
I
Yeah.
I had thought about innovation from the standpoint of really lot more like mechanical. So I thought about it more from the standpoint of innovation, like compared to invention, right? And so the idea of taking that which is and continuing to apply it in novel or unconventional ways towards it,
Yeah.
but like which feels fun, but when you talk about innovation through the lens of creativity and like essentially like alchemy into value, what is the thing that helps the creativity like get anchored into like value out in the world, however that ends up looking. um it's a fun lens to take this on with, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robin,
Yeah.
like as we come in, we're talking about this year. What's coming up for you? What's something that's flowing for you on this?
Yeah, I think I heard you say alchemy, and I love that word because I'm probably aligned a little bit more with your definition. But I think of innovation as sort of the opportunity to reinvent.
Mm.
So to take something that is and flip it on its head or look at it from another perspective and really reinvent, whether that be reinvent yourself, reinvent your leadership style, reinvent an organization, reinvent a product. So I think, yeah, it's just looking at things through a new lens from a different perspective and flipping it over and seeing what you can find.
So I'm liking this year. I'm thinking about this. I've told myself in this conversation that I'm going to like ask. I'm going to be selfish. Usually, I try and think about it from like the outlier side of things. But I'm like, what if I was just real and talk about like what's going on for me? So when I hear reinvention and when I hear innovation, both of those things to me come up. I'm like, these are both really like exciting things to do in some regard, but also pretty scary at the same time. And both of you work with different organizations, and I'm curious about the word courage comes to mind, right? And so I'm curious about like courage. And here's the thing: I'm going to ask a question about it, but if that doesn't show up in the work you do or in the way that like things work out with clients, like don't feel like you need to like make it like transmute your answer into it. But I'm curious about like the relationship of like courage that you have found when it comes to innovation, Bill, on your side, and reinvention, Robin, on your side here. What's the relationship of courage as it comes with it? Either one of you want to take that on?
Well, it certainly comes
Yeah,
up
I
in
mean,
my work. I'm
oh,
guessing it
go
comes
ahead.
up even more um, powerfully in Robin's work. So I'm really curious as to hear about how she relates to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's leaning into discomfort, and that takes courage. So, whether that be a personal transformation you're looking at, you've got to lean into that version of yourself that you haven't yet experienced. And it's a courageous thing to kind of look at the old stories that have sort of guided you and say, hey, maybe that's not working anymore. Maybe it's time to let go of that one and rewrite my story. And I think it's the same for any type of reinvention is look at what is and say, okay, what part of that can I take forward? But what part of it do I need to just let go and burn up and really lean into something that's unknown. And the unknown can be scary, but it's also can be super exciting. So I think that's where, as a coach, I try to personally and with my clients get to the point where like, okay, I'm hitting that point of discomfort. How can I take a step forward anyway and lean into that unknown quantity that's in front of me? And make that exciting and have a mission or a vision of that compels me to go forward anyway.
Yeah, I love what you said about that leaning into discomfort.
Mm.
Because if there's no discomfort, there's no courage. As they say something about, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling fear and still leaning into it and going to that next step. And what I've found, um, when I talk about innovation, invariably that leads to talking about change. When clients bring me in, it's because something's got to change. We're stuck in a rut. Something has to change, but we fear change, which is that whole discomfort part. I think we know something has to happen, but we're just not willing to do it. Um, and what I've realized about change, discomfort, is that it's like so many things. It's easier than we make it. It's actually simpler than we make it. It's there's really just three parts to change. There's the part before change, which we love. You know, that's the comfortable pair of slippers. That's what we're used to. That's the house that we grew up in. Oh, we like, oh, we know where everything is. And then there's the part after change. And we like that part too. Oh, these new slippers are amazing. Oh, this new house is fabulous. It's that part in the middle. You know, we like the old house, we love the new house. We hated the moving part, the messy part. And that's when I think people have, I think when we talk about discomfort, that's the part. Robin, I'm sure you face this all the time with your clients. They're kind of comfortable where they were or where they are when they come to you. I mean, they know something's wrong, but still it's like, oh, but I know this blanket's, you know, a little worn and torn, but, you know, but it's my blanket and I know it and I like it. And then when you get them to that other side, it's like, oh, this is so much better. But it's that whole part of, okay, well, here's what it takes. This messy part is the process. It's not the exception to the process. It is the process. I deal with that with my clients when they're trying to innovate, which means doing something different in the face of fear. Look, it might be expensive. It might be difficult. It might be, what if it doesn't work? That's the big one. What if it doesn't work? Well, it might not. We can deal with that, but it's that part in the middle. I mean, do you find that to be in your work? Is that the toughest part, or is it just getting them to lean into that messy middle part that's harder?
Yeah, I mean, I love you describing the messy middle part because I think, I come from a healthcare background, so I think in terms of how our brains are wired. And so, we have that amygdala, that reptilian brain, that
Right.
change represents danger because it's the unknown. And so we have to know we're wired that way. And when we're leaning into that discomfort, we're going to have that, what the Buddhists call monkey minds, or like a monkey on your shoulder chattering, going, what are you thinking? You're not good enough. Why did you take this on in the first place? All of those, that self doubt and that critic. When we know that that's a part of our process and our brains are automatically going to react that way, we have a choice. And we can say, okay, I'm going to follow that down the rabbit hole and I'm going to turn around and not do this and stay safe. Or I'm going to think about this vision that's compelling enough to make me take a step forward anyway and just say, hey, thanks for sharing. Thank you, brain, for trying to keep me safe. But today we're moving forward. And I think keeping that vision in front of you, at least for me, is what helps me move past that messy middle part and make it worth it.
Mm.
It's kind of having to teach your amygdala, that reptile brain, that every threat is
Mm,
no longer a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah.
right,
But that
right,
part of the brain doesn't know the difference. That part of the brain is not
right,
terribly evolved. It's still back there
right.
when every threat was an existential threat, literally. And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
that can be a tough power to overcome.
yeah.
I'm glad you're talking about this though, because this is part of the reason why I love to have you all on here because uh, as both of you are talking, I'm like, wow, y'all. I'm imagining that you've had to reinvent yourself. You've had many different iterations of your life and of your career, right? And a lot of the outliers listening to this, they have a lot of commas. They're like, I was this, then that, or like a lot of hyphens along the way.
Yeah.
And so in that space of like like that space of like having to step through and even while you're in the messy, I'm curious if either of you two, well, actually both of you, would be willing to like help make it real for us right now. Like right now, I'm choosing to go through a process of bringing on new team members and actually elevating my game to the point where I can bring on other people to do the podcast and also take some to in particular, there's one program that I've been wanting to launch for years that I've talked about for a long time. In fact, one of my friends says, it's like you talk about leading a movement, but when I go outside, I don't see anything about this movement. And so that's like right now I'm in that messiness. I like to your point, I want the movement at the end. I know the business I have right
Right.
now, and now I'm here in this messiness. Would y'all like help make this real for the outlier that's listening by sharing like what's the messy middle for you right now that you're navigating through or that you're excited to be like going through? Bill, anything come to you on that?
Sure, yeah. Actually, kind of give you a bit of a historical one as opposed to what I'm going through now.
Sure,
Uh,
start with there.
So I produced this TV show. It was extremely popular. We did very well. I won 29 Emmy Awards for it. My team won over 100 Emmy Awards. Um, and then they stopped producing the show. Or they stopped. They fired us all. They kept rerunning the show for a decade, but still. And all of a sudden I went through that, and because we were celebrities in Seattle, I mean, I was the producer of the show, but I was also a cast member. So I was on TV every week for 15 years. It was an incredibly popular show here and around the Pacific Northwest. And we were on Comedy Central for 2.5 years also. So there's that sense of this is who I am. Just like I'm sure Robin felt that, like, I am a nurse. If I'm not a nurse, who am I? If I'm not a nurse, what am I? If I'm not on TV, if I'm not producing this TV show, what am I? But all of a sudden, it's like, well, you're not producing the TV show anymore. You don't have a TV show. What do you do? And my challenge was that I kept defining myself too narrowly. I thought, okay, well, I'm a TV producer, specifically for a comedy show. Well, there aren't that many of them. There aren't any more outside of LA or New York, and I didn't want to move to LA or New York. Okay, but I'm also a joke writer. I mean, I wrote for The Tonight Show and I wrote for my own show. Well, that's kind of limited, and it's tough to make a real living with that. And that's how I was defining myself, because I had these blinders on. And I think a big part of our work, yours, Niiamah, yours, Robin, and mine, is getting people to not throw off the blinders. That's unrealistic. We all have them, but to just broaden them a little bit and see, like, okay, well, what else? And now, when I started asking that question, I realized I'm actually an expert in innovation and creativity, because for those 15 years, we had to be innovative every single week, whether we felt like it or not. In essence, I ran a 15-year long innovation lab. So, like, okay, that's a valuable skill. I also learned an awful lot about how to lead a creative team, because that's a whole different subchapter of leadership. Um, and I know how to do that. It's, herding cats. I know how to do that. That's a valuable skill too. Can I do something with that? So a lot of it was just making that mental shift of redefining who I am, and broadening those blinders a little bit. And I think, Robin, I'm curious if you went through a process like that when you left nursing, although I'm guessing that you never actually fully leave nursing. Um, but when all of a sudden that was no longer how you defined yourself, did you go through anything similar to that, or was your journey different?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not someone who spends a lot of time looking back. So I almost feel like I live in the messy middle constantly, and I've just gotten comfortable there. So change is the only thing we can really count on, right? So if we get comfortable with change, and I moved all the time as a kid. I went to all these different schools, and so maybe that prepared me. So I'm always looking for what's happening now, and be in that. So I'm not somebody who sets like a 1 year goal or 5 year goal, or one of those people. I'm somebody who lives by my gut. And so when an opportunity shows up and it feels right, or a move presents itself and it feels right, I take it. Now, I might jump off the cliff and start telling people, here's what I'm going to do. And then once I commit to that, I go, oh, shoot, what have I gotten myself into? But, I'm off the cliff now. So I guess I'm going to learn to fly. So I think if you challenge yourself to continue to grow, you're always going to be a bit in the messy middle, because you're always sort of reinventing yourself, reinventing your work. If you're going to stay fresh, if you're going to stay current, if you're going to stay relevant with what your purpose is in this changing world. I feel like so many people right now are revisiting that and going, wow, what's happening? Our world is kind of in chaos. What is mine to do? What is mine to contribute? What's my purpose now? And maybe it's not what I've been doing for the last 10 years, or maybe it's not what I thought, I would be doing going forward. So yeah, I think learning to live in the messy middle is the key.
Yeah, I'm hearing this, and it's making my heart smile, right? Bill, when you talk about like broadening the blinders here, I'm glad that you bring it in, because like the people listening to this, like, they're well accomplished, and it's like we have this track record of success, and now it's like, am I willing? Like, do I give that up? who do I become now? Like, how would you see me? How, like, will anyone even like know me in this regard? And can I go about doing this again? I really like this like realness to what you said around like, well, what is it that I've actually been doing? I might have had a title, I might have had a specific place where I was doing, but I was really like just running innovation over and over again, you know? And Robin, something I'm getting from you is this like element of like of being when you talk about jumping off the cliff, like that hit me. And I actually want to speak to both of you around like that component of like, all right, jumping off the cliff and then like creating as it comes along. Bill, I'm imagining right now that you talked about like, the show is coming out, the comedy show is coming out like week after week. It's like no matter what, there has like the show has to go.
Yeah.
We have to produce something here. And so I'm curious about like for any outlier that's listening right now, that is that's feeling more stuck. That's feeling like they're on the edge of the cliff, and they maybe want to make a declaration and haven't yet here. I think both of you have some really good insights into that kind of element of like actually shipping things out in the world, even when it's you don't even know how it's going to get done, right? So you would love to see if you can speak to that, share some of the things that have worked for you, in it, and again, like just keep it real with us. Like, let us know where that's playing out for you right now.
It's true. So my show in Seattle, we aired at 11:30 on Saturday night. We were the NBC affiliate. We actually pushed SNL back a half an hour. So we were there. Lorne Michaels was not happy about that. We were the only people in the country who were allowed to do that.
Hmm.
But there's something that he famously said that I said also. But then once he says it, you can't say, well, I said it first because it's Lorne Michaels. But he said, we don't go on the air because we're ready. We go on because it's 11:30. And anybody who's produced a TV show knows that's absolutely true. 15 years, 26 shows a year, plus 4 or 5 primetime specials like per year. That's a lot of shows. I can probably count on one hand, maybe two, the number of times we went on the air where I wouldn't have loved to have had just one more rehearsal or one more rewrite or one more edit for one of the tape pieces. But you don't go on with the perfect show. You go on because you have to go on, and something amazing might happen. I'll tell you the quick version of this story. One Saturday, we're there. We're getting ready to produce the show. We're there in the morning, and it's going to be a great show because we've gotten a big name guest, which didn't always happen in Seattle in those days. This is like pre-Microsoft, pre-Amazon, pre-Starbucks, and Seattle was just kind of this like backwoods place up in the northwest corner of the country. We make airplanes. That's about it. But we got I booked Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp. Uh, he was doing a TV show at the time called 21 Jump Street, and they were shooting right up in Vancouver, BC, which is only about 2.5 hours away from here, where I am right now. So I called him up. Turns out he knew the show. He was a fan of the show, because it turns out that TV signals can actually cross borders. Who knew? Uh, but so we booked him to be a guest. So this Saturday, Johnny Depp's going to be our guest. This is going to be so cool. And then around 11 or noon, somewhere around there, day of the show, he called and canceled. He was very nice about it, but he said, they scheduled reshoots. I can't get out of it. And so now we're in a panic. And we've all been there where we think we've done everything right. We've done all our due diligence, all our planning. We've crossed our T's and dotted our I's. And then the universe just pulls the rug out, right? But it's the day of the show. And we don't go on the air because we're ready. We go on because eventually it's going to be 11:30. So we try and come up with another guest, and nothing's, it's like, oh no, they're out of town. That she's in rehab. That's, like nothing. It just wasn't coming together. And meanwhile, the clock is just, ticking on and on and on. And finally, my lowest paid writer, my junior writer, pops his head up and says, look, well, what about me? I mean, maybe I could do something. In fact, if we could get like a big tub of liquid nitrogen, I could probably do something cool with that, which scared the heck out of all of us. I mean, the junior writer, like, come on, nope. You don't have to listen to the junior writer. He can't possibly have a good idea. But the clock keeps ticking, and finally it's like, okay, Bill, his name was Bill also. All right, Bill, tell us about this stupid liquid nitrogen idea. And he told us what he might be able to do, like with a marshmallow and things like that. And finally, we had no choice because
Mm.
it was okay. Let's get some liquid nitrogen. And that's the night that my junior writer, Bill, last name Nye, became Bill
Mm.
Nye the Science Guy on that show because we were desperate because something went wrong and we had to go on the air anyway. We had to do it anyway. About a week and a half ago, I was just north of where you are, Niiamah. I was in L.A. in Hollywood watching what my former junior writer, Bill Nye the Science Guy, get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Mm.
So you never know what might happen. Life doesn't deliver perfection very often. It's messy. I love what Robin said about how I live in that messy part. And the truth be told, we all do. We all do, but it's okay. What are you going to do with it? I mean, we didn't have the option of hanging up a sign saying, "Sorry, no show tonight." We couldn't get it together. So much of just like, okay, this is the hand I'm dealt. How are we going to play it? And it might have not worked. It might have been a bummer of a segment, in which case, okay, so we have a bad show. Well, we've had those before. You put something out there, like Robin said, you fall off the cliff and build something, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but it's the first pancake. It's version 1.0. If it doesn't work, learn from it. Like, okay, let's make the second pancake better. At least that's what seems to have manifested itself in my world.
I love this year. I like. There's so much I can say on this year. Like, I love the Bill Nye origin story. I never really thought about like where was he when he was just Bill the junior writer
Yeah.
here. Um, but on top of that, there I'm feeling a lot of energy in what you said. I want to give Robin a chance to come in, play with this here, bring in some of your own thoughts. Robin, what's showing up for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm reminded of this magnet I have on my fridge, and it's this woman in like 1800s Western town, and she's on the edge of the curb, and she's all dressed in a white shoes, white dress, etc. And the road's just mud, and she's stepping off, and the quote on the magnet is, "Sometimes what the hell is the best answer." So to me, that's sort of like when something comes up and I'm like, oh, I don't know, am I going to take this step? It's like, what the hell? If I don't do it, then I'm going to wonder. So why not give it a shot? And yeah, sometimes you fall flat on your face. And then, like Bill was saying, you get yourself back up. And there's a song right now that's my kind of road trip song because I travel and speak a lot. And so when I'm in my car, I listen to it, and it's by Bailey Zimmerman, and it's called Backup Plan. And it's the chorus of it says, if it's in your blood, falling down ain't enough to change who you were born to be. Getting back up is the only backup plan you need. So I think you have to be not afraid to fall, but know that what you were born to be is enough to get you back up and get you back out there and try again. So what the hell, might as well give it a try. So that's that's kind of the philosophy I live by. Uh, is take a chance.
Yeah, like Outliers, please take some time right now, to process this not just as information coming your way, but actually like take some time to think about like where is this applying for you, and what places,
Mhm.
like what's the mud that's ahead of you that you've been walking up and down the street, being like, but I just got this, like what's that mud for you, and like what's that step that goes into it, or to the place of looking at it and saying like, Bill, like, oh, what I don't want you to know about me is that I am looking at a deadline that's coming up, and I can see it slowly rolling, coming closer, and being like, I have not done enough yet, and I cannot figure out how to like catch up. I'm like, can I just go back 6 weeks ago to make this like actually happen through, and it's not lost on me that you brought this conversation in right here, because it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, like something really beautiful can happen. And no one saw what might happen from that moment. Like, from that cancellation, no one was like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna go out and change. It's gonna change something else out there. And I want to offer this here. I want to offer this element to us here, Outliers. Like, this is why I love like the jumping off the cliff part, Robin. It's like sometimes you got to put yourself in a position to fail again. And I say again because none of us, like, this is not. we're not here for self-development 101, right? It's just that it keeps applying. It never ends. That's why there's another road, there's another element of like the show must go on. There's mud in front of us again. I see both of you like nodding deeply, so like please just jump in, jump in on this here. What you got?
Well, I'm reminded about one of your previous guests in one of your previous podcasts talked about infinite leadership. That is,
Mm.
there's no, the journey doesn't end. There's no expiration date until we actually expire. I mean, it's ideally this whole thing, this life that we've got is a road of continuous learning and continuous development and continuous growth. It isn't for some people, which I think is a shame, and it's a really wasted resource, and it's a waste of potential. I'm as you were talking, I was thinking back. One, I was extremely focused about what you were saying, but
Go
I
ahead,
was
Bill.
actually I was actually thinking about Robin's thing about, falling off a cliff, which some case means like a jump off a cliff, that leap of faith. And what occurs to me um, is that once you go off that cliff, you're absolutely right, Niiamah. There is no going back. You're now committed. I mean, when you're off that cliff, okay, now we have to go ahead with this. If it's too easy to say no, I'm going to take a mulligan. I'm going to take a do over on this. Then 8 times out of 10, that's what we're going to do, because that's the easy part. We want to go back to that before part, that comfortable old blanket. But when you go off the cliff, um, it is okay. You got to commit to this. I mean, like, are you in or are you out? And if you're not willing to go in on it, um, then what's the point? Like Niiamah, when you were talking about this transition that you want to make with your business and this new program you want to launch, and your friend said, well, you've been talking about this for years. Come on. Like, you're just like standing on the edge of the cliff. Should I or should I have the same thing too. I mean, there are programs I want to launch. I mean, I'm primarily a keynoter. I'm really good at it. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm comfortable there. I want to launch other programs. I have developed dozens of great programs, a 12-week program, a 4-week program, a 3-day mastermind. I've developed all those, but very rarely do I actually pull the trigger on and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And maybe well, I'm sure imposter syndrome comes in. No matter how good we are at something, it's like, oh, but is this going to be the one where I fail? Is this going to be the one where it doesn't? Is this going to be the one where they find out that this whole thing has been a charade and that, I'm not really as good as I think I am? And I think that's probably a lot more common than most people are willing to admit. But I don't know. I'm curious. What's
Yeah.
your experience of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think people look at people like us, especially, we're standing on a stage, we're speaking, we come across as very confident and they think there's no self-doubt when it's just the opposite. We've just embraced that self-doubt and went, I'm going to do it anyway. And, I always say if something doesn't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough. So, I think that just comes with the territory. If you're going to do some amazing things in your life, you've got to do some things that are going to scare the crap out of you, that are going to bring up your self-doubt, that are going to challenge you to be something maybe you haven't been in the past. And yeah, it's you got to take that risk. Otherwise, there's regret, right? And we don't want to live with regret.
But how do you do that, Robin? Because again, this is what you work with clients on every single day. It's easy, and we've all heard it, we've all read it, and we've all said it. Oh, you just have to you just have to jump off the cliff. You just have to be willing to, feel
Mhm.
the, feel the fear and whatever the phrase is. And it's real easy to say that, but
Yeah.
how do you do it? Like, what do you tell your clients when they're facing that? Like, what are the some actual action steps that they can do, that we can do, frankly?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's helping people identify what's more important than the fear. So what is your mission in doing this? What is your dream about? What's important about this to you? And if you find the thing that's important enough, it makes the discomfort worth it. And so as a coach, that's what I help people do is, what's the driving mission behind this? What's the dream behind this? What's the why behind it? Why is this important? What do you value about it? And then, you wrap all that up into a picture and a vision that is more compelling than the current story you're telling or your comfort zone. And it compels you to move forward despite all that.
So basically, you're talking about creating a. If we think about change again in that simplistic, part before change, the messy middle, and the part after change, it's really creating that after picture in a way
Yeah.
that's so real and and not just like, oh, things will be better. Okay, but what will they look like? What will they taste like? What will they smell like? What will they feel? I mean, just really making that such a powerful. Would magnet be a weird term that we're just like, okay, now we're just drawn to it.
As a coach, that's what I'm here to do for people, is that when they face that self-doubt or they face that challenge, I'm so excited about this dream or this goal in front of them that I can say, okay, so, things are a little messy right now, or it's getting uncomfortable, or let's, get into that. And let's remember, like, wow, you've got this. You have everything it takes to make this happen. And so let's look at what's getting in the way and change the story, change the perspective.
So what do you do when they actually try something and it doesn't work? I mean, we talked about that. Like, that first pancake might be burnt.
Yeah.
Like, it, how do you help them? Okay, I'm writing myself into a weird
We
sentence.
get the question. We get the question though.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
yeah, like,
Thanks.
yeah. No, good question, Robin. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, when that happened, that's when our old stories pop up. And that's when that, monkey mind starts. It says, oh, you shouldn't have tried this in the first place. What were you thinking? And so as a coach, it's okay, this is a choice point. This is like a great opportunity to look at those stories that aren't serving you anymore and say, is that what I want to believe about myself? Is that the story I'm going to listen to? Or am I going to learn from this and say, okay, what's of value in this? I've certainly fallen flat on my face more than a time or two. What's the value in this? What can I learn from it? And how has this grown me so that, I kind of think of those points where we fall on our face as preparation,
Mm.
because when we get back up, like, getting back up, that's the only backup plan we need, right? When we get back up, it's like we get up stronger, we get up more resilient, we get up with things that we've learned about ourselves that we didn't know before that help us then succeed the next time. So I think it's all in how you look at failure, um, and what you do with that.
I love this here. Y'all, this has been I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation. I appreciate the realness that you bring to this year and also the practicality that has come along with it. I want to give us some space here as we start wrapping up the conversation and do something here. So, um, what I want to give here is what I'd like to call an outsight. So, an outsight here
Mhm.
is different than an insight. An insight's about like what's a personal thing that you are taking away from
Mhm.
this. An outside is an opportunity to go and talk to outliers to share with them like something that you would like for them to leave with. Like these are people with a track record of success, right? They're people who they're your clients. They've been your clients, and they're continuing to move further along their journey, and they're here. They're here for all of this. So I'm gonna start with you, Robin, then I'm gonna go to Bill. Like, if there was one message that you can leave here as an outside to outliers, what would that message be?
Yeah, I'd say that you always have the power to write a new narrative. So, what's calling you? Where are you feeling uncomfortable? What does that look like? You have the power to write the next chapter of your story. And I think understanding that, gives you that feeling of, oh, yeah, I'm in charge here. And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's story. I have the power to write my own. And I think that's an amazing way to live your life. How about you, Bill?
Uh, I absolutely love that. I think I want to leave them with a bit of a challenge because we talked about
Mm,
broadening the blinders
Yeah.
because we tend to
mhm.
kind of have the same experiences all the time. I'm gonna challenge them, people listening to this, people watching this, over the course of this next week. I want you to read an article that you wouldn't normally read, listen to a podcast you wouldn't normally listen to, have a conversation with somebody you wouldn't normally have a conversation with. When you choose that podcast, choose a podcast about something that you have no interest in. Just do something different, but do it with intention. As you're reading that article about, crochet, and you don't care about crochet, as you're listening to that podcast you wouldn't normally listen to, I want you to actively listen to it with this question in mind: how can I apply this to my situation? Whatever situation you're going through now, personally, professionally, whatever challenge, whatever opportunity, how can I take something in here and apply it? And if you ask that question, how can I do that? Your brain will try and come up with an answer. You'll find some way that you can relate it. And we can all do that. And that's part of the growth. That's part of becoming an innovator, is seeing those outside things that you wouldn't normally connect, and then connecting them in a way that could possibly lead to a breakthrough.
I appreciate you both, and it's one of those things, Bill. When you first brought that last one, and it reminds me that, like, as much as we get good at what we do in a kind of a linear fashion, the element of being able to bring in. This is why I love Outliers, because we've had so much experience. This is like in another way, shape, or form. It's like keep outliering, keep getting new things. Robin, you talk like I lived all over the place, So like, yeah, I'm good with just jumping off. Let's go, like, and I there's just something really simple in that there with that, actually not just simple. It feels like a very warm invitation to allow yourself to continue to keep expanding. I want to thank both of you for bringing that in here. Outliers, before we end here, there's two things we're going to do. I have two more questions for each of you. But I want to talk to you, Outliers, here. This conversation has already been quite phenomenal, and my ask here is that you go and you share this out in the world. The podcast grows by word of mouth, and just, yeah, really word of mouth. And so the real key here for me is that, like, feel free to go share it out in the world. I think Bill and Robin, like, we want people to know about, like, this conversation. Absolutely. But there's also something I want to invite you to. So join us in the one person, one conversation at a time initiative. And what that looks like is for you to just think of one person in your life who really would benefit from hearing the conversation that Bill, Robin, and myself had today, and then share it with them. Because in my heart of hearts, I believe, like, that's the thing where 20 years later, someone's still going to get this episode and say, wow, it was exactly what I needed at the right time with the right message, and it hits over and over again. And if you're someone that's listening to this in the future or in the present, wherever it is right now, and you hear this and someone passes it on to you, please keep paying it forward. Something about this here, I feel like it's like this is the real secret to all this here. It's not a conversation that happened at one time for content or exposure. It is, and at the same time, this is how we change the world. And I would love,
Mm.
love, love, love for you to join us in that here. All right. Think of one person and send it to them as a gift. It would mean the absolute world to me. All right, so we're gonna wrap up here. The way that I like to wrap up, we've had our outsights for the outliers, so we can let outliers kind of sit. Now we're gonna focus on how one, how they can go deeper down the journey with you, and two, for you to share an insight. Right? You were all telling, like there's things here. Like, the only reason I have a conversation is to change the world. I heard someone say that once. I'm like, let's do that, right? So in what ways has this conversation been like? What's the takeaway you're taking, leaving from this conversation, if any? Okay. Why don't we do the same order here? So, Robin, let us know how we can go deeper in your world, and then what's the insight that you're taking from this conversation?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Yeah, you can certainly find me on LinkedIn. So, Robin Ferguson. You can also go to my website, robin-ferguson.com. If you have any interest in learning more about coaching, or just want to connect, I would love to hear from you. I also recently released a book called The Phoenix Effect, Transcend Limitation and Ignite the Power Within You. So you can find that on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and any online retailer. So appreciate you checking that out, and would love to, yeah, just love to hear from any of you, how this episode hit you, how this conversation. I would love to continue that with any of you who are interested. And I would say, probably the insight, I love what Bill left us with, because that idea of taking disparate ideas, or concepts and finding the common thread. So, I think of the company IDEO who created, the mouse and the Pringles can. They would bring people together from all different professions. So maybe, a musician and a tech guy and an opera singer or whatever, and say, here's the problem we're having. Now take some time and come up with a solution. And so I think that challenge, I'm just reminded of that. So Bill, thank you for that challenge to, we got to get outside our box all the time. And so we can see different parts of the world and different perspectives and learn from that and see how we can bring that into our world. So yeah, that's what I'm taking away.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
You got me thinking about some things with that one. Thank you. And Bill, bring us home.
Well, there are a number of ways to work with me. I'm a keynote speaker. If you think what I have to say about innovation being for
Mm.
everybody and some ways to actually do it would resonate with your team, think about bringing me in as a keynoter or to actually work with your team in a workshop. I also just did a brand new book, as seen here, for those of you watching it, called Innovation Unleashed, available on Amazon. Not in the other cool places that Robin's book is, but I'm not Robin Ferguson. Um, so those are the ways that you can work with me and have me work with your team. And the best source for that, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, Bill Stainton, Stainton. And my website is billstainton.com, of course. As far as insights, there are two things that Robin said that I keep coming back to. The one is like falling off the cliff or jumping off the cliff or just ending up off the cliff where, okay, what are we going to do now? But I really, really love this concept of we living in the messy part. Like life is messy. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it worthwhile. And like many of you, like you, Niiamah, and you, Robin, those of you listening and watching, I find myself keep thinking, well, when things get, when things calm down or when things go back to normal, we've been hearing a lot about that. Well, that's just not going to happen. There is no normal. There is no calming down. There is no nothing. We're living in the messy middle, as Robin so beautifully put. We're living in the messy middle. Okay, let's all just play. This is where we are. Let's all just play with it and see what kind of magic we might be able to create.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the magic that y'all decided to bring here today. It's been an incredible conversation. You've gotten me thinking. My blinders are opening. I am like, I need to go find some mud, and more than anything else, yeah. Like when you got me actively thinking, I'm like, yo, where's that mud? This street's a little bit too paved. But realistically, here, thank you for continuing to show us how you go on the journey and making it like and giving us that bit of a breath of fresh air of like, hey, like this game, this is the game that we all get a chance to play. So I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Outliers, until the next time we talk, remember to be you on purpose. Journey on.